Hello folks, my name is Mark and this is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? So this is a video response to a guy named, what's his name? Smarchatect, I think. Which he made a response to my video, which was a response to a guy that wanted to respond to my video about MGTOW. So yeah, see, I'm pronouncing it right now. Thank you very much, MGTOW. Right. So, little bit of YouTube drama going, I guess, but whatever. So if you don't have this, if you don't care about this kind of thing, feel free to skip this video. Plus this one's going to be kind of long, so apologies in advance. At 22 seconds in, this guy calls me Smorpheus, right?
Today's video will be a response to Smorpheus. That's what I'm going to call him. His name is Mark, aka Hawanja. Hi Hawanja. Hi, how are ya? Something of the sort. I can't pronounce his name, but what I can pronounce is Smorpheus, because when you look at those shades, he looks like he was in the Matrix. He looks like Morpheus if he ate way too many s'mores.
Making fun of what I look like. One thing I notice is that whenever people don't really have any substance to their argument, the first thing they do is make fun of what I look like. How about you focus on what I'm saying rather than what I look like? So what, I wear sunglasses, you can't handle that? I don't know. Okay, but yeah, I can take a joke. Alright, whatever. I don't have a picture of you, so I can't make fun of what you look like. So I'll just have to imagine what you look like when you talk, Speaking of that, on the pronunciation of MGTOW, so I was pronouncing it wrong. Who cares? Does that really matter? No. I mean, I don't know. Let's get to some substance, alright? Well, I wouldn't call my video sexist in so much that it's merely disagreeing with MGTOW. I mean, is disagreeing sexist? Not really, I don't think I used any stereotypes about men in that video.
I don't think your guy said anything about stereotypes.
That's what sexism is, right? Sexism is using stereotypes to make, generalizations about members of a certain sex, That's basically, it's basically the same as any other kind of form of discrimination or bigotry, You use stereotypes, you make generalizations, and you come to untrue conclusions about people based on what you think, about their group that you've put them in. Because the guy said, oh, I find this sexist, this video towards men. Well, if I would have said something like, MGTOW guys, or MGTOW sucks because, all men are a bunch of cheating man whores who only think with their dicks, that would have been sexist. But I said nothing of the sort, because that video wasn't fucking sexist, right? I did call it selfish, and the reason why I call it selfish is I thought that was pretty clear. I see MGTOW, and not only MGTOW, but the greater manosphere movement at its core to be all about men removing themselves from the trappings of relationships which necessitate taking responsibility.
Well, it's more so about being responsible for unaccountable people. So
the guy you post kind of makes it sound like if a woman murders somebody, then the cops are just not going to arrest her. That's what it makes it sound like, That's not necessarily true. I mean, nowadays women, I mean, there was a time in the past actually where women would not be held accountable, back in the 1800s and shit, In fact, I remember reading about women who would purposely try to break the law, and insist that the cops arrest them when they wouldn't, shit like that. Early women who fought for women's suffrage and shit like that. But nowadays it's a lot different now. Women are held accountable. I mean, if you kill somebody, you go to prison if you're a woman, right? You don't just the cops aren't just gonna let you go. Women get fired from their jobs all the time. I mean, so it's kind of that's a stereotype right there. Women are not held accountable. Women get get the easy, right? They get treated easy with kid gloves or whatever. I mean, unless you're talking about you're talking about relationships, right? And a woman's allowed to do whatever she wants, and no one ever looks down on her for what? For cheating? Is that what you're saying? Her friends aren't going to get down for her for cheating, but a man will. Well, that's bullshit too. I mean, there's two sides to every relationship, Of course her friends aren't going to think that she's bad, You know, of course her friends aren't going to be like, oh, she cheated on you, so she's a bad person. No, they're going to take it from her point of view, like she wasn't getting what she needs, you know. The same way that your friends are going to be like, oh, well, you know, you cheated on your girlfriend or your wife because she wasn't giving you what you want, right? Same kind of fucking thing. I mean, you know, is that like women not being held accountable? I don't fucking think so.
Taking responsibility for something that you are not sure of in the future. For example, if you put payments on a car and it's a limit and you find out that it's a limit, but you're already locked into this agreement and you're making payments from a certain amount of time. Let's say you've been making payments for about 2 years on a car and you've already passed the powertrain warranty and the 30-day money-back guarantee. You've already passed the year of maintenance, and now here you are stuck with something that you wish you would have known a year or two about. So it's not about being responsible for your decisions, it's about being cautious of things that you have to be responsible for that will later turn out to be a lemon, or could later on turn out to be something that you didn't really want.
A relationship or a marriage is not a car, you know, but if you're using this analogy, you know, the idea that you want to avoid a lemon, the way you do that is you get to know the person you're dating first, right? Before you commit, especially before you get married, you know, you take some time to get to know them. Be a little more discerning about who it is you date, you know. I mean, the thing is, it's not all about how attractive a woman is, because that's the thing. Like, you even say this in your video, you know, men think with their dicks and they don't make value judgments, and when it comes to, they don't make risk assessments when it comes to who they date or who they marry. Well, then start doing that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, look past her ass and her tits and determine if you actually have something in common with this person, you know. Do you and her actually have, you know, are you compatible? Do your personalities mesh right? You know, do you have things in common? Do you like hanging out with each other? Stuff like that, you know. I mean, it's not just all about sex, right? But that's the problem, is that men don't do shit like that, you know. Men will do stuff like they'll meet a woman and they'll hit it off, and then they'll just have sex and get drunk and party for 2 weeks straight and just bang 24/7, and then decide to get married. And then afterwards you figure out, oh shit, this person, I don't even really like this person. Now you're stuck. That's what you're fucking saying. Well, you know, I don't see why that's a going your own way thing. Why that's common sense, you know. It's like, get to know the person before you commit to them, you know. I mean, shit, I'm married now. I've been with my wife for almost, this year will be 4 years. You know, we lived together for 3 years before we decided to get married. You know, I made sure that we were compatible, you know, that we weren't going to drive each other completely fucking nuts, you know, that she wasn't like, you know, crazy or vindictive or, you know, whatever. Right, before, or else I wouldn't have married her. I mean, you got to think about these things, you know. And, I mean, is that, you know, that's part of what taking responsibility means, you know. So if you find out about this person, you still decide to, like, marry her, then you got nobody but yourself to blame if the shit goes south. So here's the thing, though. I mean, if you really have the kind of assets that, you know, where you will be damaged if you were to get divorced and lose half of whatever, you know. If you really are concerned about that, then all you really need to do is get a prenup, you know, prenuptial agreement, right? And if the woman, you know, doesn't want to marry you because of that, then guess what? She's not the right woman for you, you know. I mean, that's the thing, is that there are ways that you can protect yourself. If that's what you're really concerned about, if you're really concerned that this woman's going to take, you know, divorce you and take everything you have, and if that's why you're scared of committing, scared of getting married, then, you know, take that extra step before you do it, you know. There's nothing wrong with that at all, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, me, myself, personally, you know, I'm not rich, okay? I mean, I have, you know, a house and shit like that, but I'm not rich, you know. What's she gonna take? She gonna take my fucking action figures? I mean, it's not, you know, it's not even a concern for me. That, and even if that were to happen, if shit were to go south, you know, and I had to pay a little bit, oh well, you know, does that mean that I shouldn't do it? That's the thing. That's what I get from MGTOW. It's like, it seems to me that it's a bunch of guys who are afraid, you know, of stuff that might happen. Well, there's risk in everything you do. You know, walking outside, right? I mean, just walking outside means you're putting your life in danger, you know. I don't know, it just seems ridiculous to me that I should be afraid of what might happen.
Definitely anti-marriage because it doesn't benefit men. But as far as anti-children, no, not at all. You can always adopt, you can get a surrogate, and you can be a part of the Big Brother, Big Sister program.
So you tell me that you're not anti-children, but then you post a guy, you post a video of a guy who says that you can get the same kind of loving satisfaction from a child that you can from a pet goat, right? I mean, that's what the guy says. He says that my dog gets that what my daughter used to get. So what exactly is your point here? Like you're saying that you're not anti-children, but then you post a guy that basically tells you that you can walk away from your children. How does that like help your argument? I mean, I don't know who that guy is, but that guy seems really like sad and pathetic. I mean, he says things like, when I dropped my former daughter off, listen to that, former daughter, like, what the fuck is that, dude? Like, I mean, is it just not your daughter anymore because what? Because he lost custody of her? Because he only gets to see her once a week? Something like that? So suddenly it's not her daughter? I don't see how that video of that guy is helping your case here, I mean, he even says, what else does he say? Men don't care, that's why we can walk away from our kids and not feel nothing. What kind of advice is that? I mean, I don't know. I don't think that if I were to have a kid, that I could ever really walk away from the kid, regardless of how messed up her mother was. I mean, that's the thing, is that children are not, they're not supposed to be objects, right? I mean, that guy goes on, like, so you say that, oh, you can adopt, whatever. That guy that you posted went on to say that, you should adopt because the government gives you money and that your ex-wife can't take the money, right? And, basically you should adopt because it'll piss her off. Well, kids are not things that you should be using in your own little personal chess game with your ex in order to see who can piss off who, you know what I mean? They're not objects that you use to manipulate somebody with. They're children, right? And you shouldn't have one if that's your attitude. If your attitude is that if I can't see her, then she's not mine and all that shit, or if, your attitude is that my dog gets the attention that my child used to get, my former daughter used to get, you shouldn't have a kid. I mean, I don't know who that person is, whoever that is you posted, but that's a very sad individual there. Someone, that guy, who says that men care, obviously he doesn't fucking care, or else he wouldn't have made that video. So, is that supposed to be an example of, MGTOW, like, caring about children? I mean, that guy goes on to say that you should, why not make a business out of it, and just adopt a bunch of kids so that they'll give you money, right? The fuck is this? Children, they're not commodities. I mean, it's just, I mean, I know that was, in jest. I know no one's really going to do that, but still, I mean, that's fucking bullshit. That's bullshit, and I don't understand. You're giving me conflicting messages here by saying that you're, like, not anti-children and then posting a guy who is very clearly anti-children.
Which is actually very interesting to me. There was a time when I would have loved to have been a father and have somebody who looks just like me. But at the same time, there are millions of orphans out there in the world who need parents. So I think the selfish people are those who say, I want a kid because it's going to have good hair. Depending on who I choose to shack up with.
Yeah, you don't get to call people who want biological children selfish when you just endorsed a guy who told us all to exploit fucking orphans. I mean, that is what that guy said, right? I mean, you don't have the moral high ground. After posting that video, you don't have the moral high ground. I'm sorry, dude.
Now, I do date, of course, but at the same time, there are, slight entrapments. I'll give you an example. There was a girl who I told that, if, depending on where I want to go career-wise, I would love for my wife to travel with me. And depending on the money that I would make, she wouldn't have to work. The type of job that I wanted would have been about $45 an hour. And whoever my wife is, she would really just have to take care of the kids and just travel with me. And this girl put up with a lot of my shit because I said that. But then she found out where I really worked and found out how long it would take for me to actually get back into school and go through all the courses. And because of that, things fell apart.
So you planned out this future with this woman, right, where you told her that you were going to, make this much money and then she could stay home and blah, 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 blah. And she was into it. You know, she wanted to be your housewife or whatever, right? And then when she found out that you weren't actually going to be doing what you said that you were going to be doing, she left. So basically, what you did is that you misrepresented yourself to her, right? And now you're angry because she left. Well, let me understand this, right? I mean, if you were to go, like, let's say you go to a bar or a club or something, and you meet a beautiful woman, right? And you guys are making out, and you go back to your place, right? And you know you're about to get hot and heavy, and you go into the bedroom. You're going to take this down to Pound Town, if you know what I'm saying. And you take her, you know, you get her clothes off, and she's got a huge schlong, which is even longer than yours. How would you feel? You know, I mean, that woman just misrepresented herself. Would you be a little angry? Would you leave, or would you stick around going, oh, well, you told me this, right? No. Then if you would get mad at that, I don't see how that's different than you misrepresenting yourself to a woman and then she like leaving you when you don't deliver what you said that you were going to deliver. You know, here's the thing, all right? Because men do this a lot, right? Men will do shit like they'll lie to have sex. You know, every guy, you know, talks themselves up. That's part of the seduction technique. You know, you make yourself out to be bigger than you actually are. You know, like you're the shit and all that other stuff. And it's all about having confidence and blah 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 blah. And that's how you make women like you, right? And that's, you know, that's something that every man everywhere does all the time. But you know, you don't want to misrepresent who you are. You know, just be honest, right? Be honest, and you know, if she likes you, she'll like you, and if she doesn't like you, then she won't like you, and there's really nothing much you can do about that, you know. But what you shouldn't do is lie, right? Or you shouldn't misrepresent yourself and make it sound like you're making more money than you actually are. I mean, you say that in your thing, you know, when she found out where you really worked. Well, where did you tell her where you worked before? You know, were you telling her that you were making this much more and you were going to be able to do this and this and this? And then she found out that you really weren't doing that. I mean, she found out you were really working at a donut shop or something. You know, I mean, how would you feel? You know, if you were in her position, right? You're about to meet this guy, you're about to settle down, you find out that he's fucking full of shit. You know, you'd leave too, all right? You'd leave also. So don't give me this shit that, you know, and now you think it's like some big fucking injustice. It's like, no, dude, you get what you fucking sow. You reap what you sow, man, and you should have been truthful to begin with, right? But I don't see how that's an example of hypergamy or whatever the fuck it is. You know, it's like, I'm sure that if you were a little more honest and she knew, you know, she knew that you didn't work at this place and you weren't misrepresenting yourself and she liked you anyway, you would have been better off. You know, maybe she wouldn't have got with you, but, you know, then you would have been better off to begin with after that as well. You know, I mean, the lesson is don't lie, all right? It's just like going on the internet and going to like OkCupid and seeing a picture of a woman, and then when you go to meet her, you find out that she's gained 300 pounds, all right? Since, you know, and she's using a picture from 5 years ago. She lied, right? Are you going to go out with her again? No. Well, why would this woman go out with you again if you lie about yourself?
We're talking about what we're taking responsibility for. Things change. Let's say I'm a golf playing billionaire, right? I just play golf, and my wife just stops sucking my dick. She stops fondling my balls, and she stops cooking. She stops doing all the major functions that I absolutely need. Well, I'm still locked into an agreement with this chick, and the court is going to give her all the power.
I like how cooking is in that list, all right? I mean, it still surprises me in this day and age that there's just men out there who just don't cook. And what's the big fucking deal? Why is it like that your wife has to cook for you? It's like, don't you fucking know how to cook? You know? Like, what? I mean, is it because it's women's work or some shit like that? I mean, please. And plus, if you're a billionaire, you know, you should be hiring a fucking cook to begin with, right? Your wife should not be cooking. I mean, please, you know, get over yourself. You know, that's the thing, is that, all right, well, if your wife is not doing what you want her to do, you know, I mean, you would think that it would be more than just sex, but let's just say, you know, whatever, she's just not attracted to you, whatever, anymore, right? And you're super duper rich and famous, right? You know, it comes that there's a point where you want to decide, you know, is the marriage worth saving? And you would want to go and get, you know, counseling and shit like that, and it's up to you to make that effort, right? And I'm not here to tell you whether it's right or wrong or whatever. What I am here to say is that, because that might happen, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. Okay, that's the way I see it. It's you shouldn't just be afraid of anything, and not just relationships, just of anything ever out there that you do. You shouldn't be afraid not to do it because things might go wrong. You shouldn't be afraid to start a business because you might fail, or to move to a new place because it might suck or whatever. You shouldn't do that. It's like if it's either going to or going, and if you really want it, then just do it, and be smart about it, obviously, right? Don't just jump in like without thinking about it, but at the same time, don't be afraid, It's like you only live once, and I know that sounds trite and cliched and all that shit, but if you never fucking even try, then you're never gonna get anywhere. And that's how fucking life is. So why is it any different? So what? So what? All right. It could go bad. I could get divorced. I could lose, half of my shit, whatever, So what does that mean? Is that any like reason why I shouldn't do it? And then you go on to post several clips from TV shows and like other guys talking and like sitcoms and shit like that. And I just want to like ask you, you realize, right, just because somebody says something on TV, right, or if it's in a TV show or another video, that doesn't mean it's true. I mean, you're posting shit from like there's this part in that video where you post this like 3-minute long like play kind of skit between these two women where one of them was saying, "Oh yeah, I won the lottery, I got divorced," and blah 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 blah. How is that supposed to prove your point? How does that prove what you're saying is true? It doesn't. It's like you say in your video, like, "Oh, I always post other people's stuff. I post video clips." Yeah, it doesn't matter what you fucking post. If what you're saying is flawed to begin with, right, then how does that make it more true? Just because somebody else out there thinks the same thing, that makes it more true? No, you're just backing up your opinion, right, with shit that you saw on TV. Okay, I mean, I don't understand, like, are you trying to tell me it's more true because you saw a sitcom once that had it? I mean, get the fuck out of here, dude. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, this must be some new way of arguing, arguing ad sitcom or some shit. I don't understand that.
When we were in middle school and high school and we first fell in love with a chick, things were a whole lot different, right? She likes you, you like her, and things are great. But then as you got older, she started to like your stuff, and you had to be you had to produce things, you had to have a car and a home, which is fine, but you still thinking, she loves me for me. No, nigga, she loves you because you have shit. Well, we've done some research that would suggest, generally, men treat women like a beautiful, youthful, beautiful thing, right? But women treat men like ATMs, like robots. Give me money and do things for me. Do the heavy lifting, drive me around, financially support me, and all these other functions. All a guy wants you to do is fuck him, suck his dick, and cook breakfast and dinner. And how much hard work is that?
Yeah, alright, so you've done research, right? What's your researching what's your research encompassed? I mean, if your research is like, watching shit on TV, right? That's kind of fucking ridiculous. I mean, here's the thing is that, of course there are women out there that do that kind of thing. Alright. Obviously, I mean, we wouldn't have words for things like gold diggers if they didn't exist, okay? But, is that, first off, is that the majority of women, right? Because that's what MGTOW will, like, make it sound like. They make it sound like every single woman out there is just, like, trying to scam you to get into your bank account and shit. And that's not true at all. No, it isn't, right? It's a very small minority, okay? And there's, like, the truth is MGTOW, along with all the other, like, manosphere shit, there's a very big dose of misogyny, mixed with lots of stereotypes and lots of like fear mongering, and it all comes out in this like it's like a hate movement almost. I think it's basically borderline hate speech. I'm not gonna jump out and straight say it's fucking hate speech. Like you're not walking around with Hitler mustaches and like white sheets and shit like that. It's not that far yet, but it's pretty fucking close.
Ah, so you're 10% for it. This goes back to the responsibility that you were talking about in the beginning of your video. And again, why did it take you this long to actually prove what these guys are saying? Go on.
But I understand the reason for this, right? And it's because back in the day, these protections were needed. Back in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s,
And is that what's going on right now? We live in 2016. It is not the 40s or the 50s. Across the board, men and women are supposed to have the same rights. Do you still agree with that now? Because of course it's not the 40s and 50s and not everybody is a stay-at-home wife, as you said. So she can get a job.
10% for what? Like, what are you talking about exactly? I mean, I'm 100% for alimony and child support. I think they're needed. I mean, like I say in my other video, right? If you want to have a conversation about changing the law, like if you don't think that things like alimony or child support are needed anymore, and that, women are able to earn the same amount of money as men are, because they're not, but even if you think they are, then, let's talk about changing the law. See, I noticed that you didn't take that part of my video. You didn't respond to that part. If you want to have that conversation, then let's talk about that. Just don't try to tell me that it's because some kind of fucking evil feminist conspiracy to steal all your money or some shit like that, because that's bullshit.
Also, notice the fact that he avoided the original question, which was, why is it empowerment if a woman says, I don't need a man, but as soon as a man says, I don't need a woman, it's sexist? You totally dodged that part, and I think that was the most important part of the question.
And the thing is, I didn't dodge that question. I didn't answer because it wasn't a question. I mean, it's like a statement. Okay. But really, I think that, I think that's irrelevant, really. I mean, you thought it was the most relevant part of that question. I don't think it's relevant at all, because who cares? Here's the thing is that, people don't criticize MGTOW and the manosphere in general because, you're not going out and getting married. That's not what this is about, right? I really don't give a shit whether you get married or not, I mean, well, the reason why I'm criticizing it's because of the backwards fucking bullshit reasons that you guys give for, like, being anti-marriage, right? The fucking blatant misogyny, the borderline hate speech, right? The fucking conspiracy theories, the wacky fucking misrepresentation of feminism, and just, that's all of the shit that's why I criticize you guys, because you guys, like, are fucking insane, and you believe really, really incredibly misogynist things, right? And it's like borderline, like I said before, it's borderline hate speech. That's why I'm criticizing you guys, because your reasoning is lazy, right? Not because you're not, actually getting married. I don't care, don't get married. I really don't give a shit about it. But don't try to pretend that you're superior to people who are, and don't try to say that it's because of some kind of fucking, evil feminist conspiracy, because it's not, There aren't, like, evil feminists out there trying to steal your money. That's bullshit, okay? That's shit that you guys have invented that has no fucking basis in fucking reality, right? And it's really what it all comes down to, as far as I'm concerned, is it's because this is what it all looks like to me. Okay, you're asking me, like, where did I get my information from, right? I got it from my own observations, right? From going into, things like our MGTOW and looking through different parts of the manosphere, and, I got it from my own observations, and my observations tell me that it's all about, it's all about guys who, like, are mad because women are allowed to say no to them. Basically, it seems to me like MGTOW guys would be perfectly happy about 50 years ago, when there was no divorce, where women would get married out of high school and then just stick with you, and then you could go cheat on her, and you could do all kinds of crazy shit. You could treat her like shit and get drunk every night and go out and bang prostitutes, and she wouldn't leave because there was, like, society pressures to, like, prevent divorce. That's what it says to me. And, it tells me that MGTOW guys are a bunch of guys who are, like, afraid of the fact that women, have to be treated like equal human beings nowadays. And I think that's fucking stupid. I think it's stupid and pathetic. And, I mean, and I think that you guys should just really stop acting like children. That's what I think. So, adios.